Pesachim Daf Samach. Today's email comes from Eli Newberger. He's on a flight. He sent us a picture of him learning the Daf, and he says to the tune of Dov Ber, Rebelli, hey Lige Rebelli, you mamish changed my flight. You mamish changed my flight. Thank you, Eli. It's on us. We're learning a brand new Mishnah, and this Mishnah is very similar to what we learned in the first Mishnah of Seder Kachim, first Mishnah in Tzvachim, and that is that when you bring a carbon, any carbon, you have to have the right intent for that carbon. So if you're bringing a shlamim, you have to think to yourself, this is a shlamim. And if you think to yourself that it's an oila, you ruin the shlamim. The bailam has to bring another shlamim. You can continue the avodah. Korban Pesach and Chatas are a little more strict, and that is if you think that when you're bringing a Korban Pesach, think to yourself, hey, this is a shlamim, you can't even continue the avodah. Take the carbon, toss it. Says the Mishnah, it doesn't matter if you had this machshava during the shechita, or the rest of the avodas, this four avodas, shechita, Kabbalah, receiving the dam, hoilacha, bringing that dam to the mizbeach, and zrika. Any avodah, if you have this thought that it's a shlamim, not a pesach, you ruin it. It doesn't matter if you started off thinking that it's a pesach, then later on you move to shlamim, or you start off with shlamim, move to a pesach. It doesn't matter, you ruin it. If you started off right away, loy lishma, thinking that this is a carbon shlamim, according to everybody, this carbon is possible. According to Rameir, who says tfais l'sharisha, we go by the first statement. He says obviously it's possible because he said it's a shlamim. Even according to Rabbi Yossi, that we go by his second statement, Rabbi Yossi doesn't mean only the second statement. He means also the second statement. In other words, we take everything he says into consideration. Since he mentioned the word shlamim or thought shlamim, it is possible. The suffix of the Gemara, and the Gemara remains in a suffix. The Gemara goes through many rayas from our Mishnah, from the next Mishnah, and there's no solution to the suffix. And the suffix is, does the Mishnah mean that he had the intent, the bad intent, and the good intent, all within one avodah, all within shechita? Or perhaps he thought, he started off, oh, I'm bringing a carbon pesach. When he got to a second avodah, the third avodah, then he thought, I'm going to bring a shlamim. There's no solution to this. The Gemara wants to bring a raya from our Mishnah. The beginning of the Mishnah says that if he shechted a carbon pesach shaloi l'shma, and then he was makabel the dam, he received the blood shaloi l'shma. Obviously, we're not talking about he had to do all these things shaloi l'shma. It means one or the other, one of the four avodas. Okay, and then the sefer of the Mishnah says, well, he did one l'shma, one shaloi l'shma. Isn't that exactly what the Reisha says? So we're forced to say that the sefer is talking about within one avodah. He started off good, and then he went bad. He thought about shlamim. Oh, here's a raya that in a case in one avodah he had two machshavas, l'shma and shaloi l'shma. It's no good against what Rebbe Meir says. Says the Gemara, no. We can be doichek and say that in fact the sefer is talking about two avodas. He had a machshava, I'm going to bring a carbon pesach by shechita, and then when he got to zrika, he thought I'm going to bring a shlamim. What's the chiddush? Very, very different case, because the Reish is talking about in two avodas, meaning as he was doing the shechita, he was thinking to himself, I'm going to bring a pesach, then he's thinking he's going to bring a shlamim. The sefer is talking about that when he's doing the avodah of shechita, he's thinking about when he's going to do the zrika, he's going to think about shlamim. But he's doing shechita right now. The fact that you can think about another avodah when I'm doing a different avodah, that's a huge chiddush. There's no raya, says the Gemara, from the following Mishnah that says that if a person brings a carbon pesach for people that are not going to eat the carbon pesach, let's say they're elderly, they don't have teeth, they can't eat it, it's possible. For an oral, tamid, possible. There, it's certainly one avodah. Oh, so if the second Mishnah, which is our Seifa, is talking about one avodah, perhaps it's a raya that our Mishnah is also one avodah. And the same thing, the Gemara wanted to bring a raya from the next case in the Mishnah. If a person brought the carbon pesach for people that could eat and can't eat, it's kosher. Again, it's one avodah. The answer is the same for both rayas. Hakidisa, hakidisa. The following Mishnah is talking about one avodah. Our Mishnah perhaps is talking about one avodah, two avodas. We're not forced to say that it's talking about one avodah. Okay, at the end of the day, we don't have a raya. Now the Gemara goes into another sugya. If a person brings a carbon pesach on Chanukah, it's possible. The only day of the year he can bring a carbon pesach is on the 14th of Nisan. What if a person he designated a sheep for his carbon pesach, and it's Chanukah, Shavuos, Sukkot, the middle of the year, he wants to bring this carbon. He could bring it if he switches it to a shlamim. That is called shaloi l'shma. Over here, the shaloi l'shma actually works to his advantage. Thinking that's a shlamim, now this carbon becomes kosher. If he thought that it's in fact a carbon pesach, l'shma, it's no good. So the Gemara wants to know, Safek, another Safek. What happens if a person thinks to himself, I am bringing a carbon Pesach and I'm bringing a shlamim on a weekday, nothing to do with Pesach? Does the machshava of shlamim override the machshava of Pesach? And therefore it's a kosher animal, kosher carbon. Rav Dimi said that when I have the proper kavanah, the shema, bringing a carbon Pesach, obviously it's kosher on Erev Pesach. And if I think about Shaloi L'Shema on Erev Pesach, I ruin it. If so, during the year, when I think Shaloi L'Shema, it's good, so the L'Shema should ruin it. That's what Rav Dimi is. Or you could say no. Loi L'Shema is much stronger than L'Shema. You know why? Because Loi L'Shema works in every single carbon all year round. If a person is bringing an Oila and he thinks to himself it's a Shlamim, he ruins it. The only time L'Shema ruins something is on a carbon Pesach. If I think the right intent, L'Shema, I ruin it. So that means that L'Shema is much weaker than Shaloi L'Shema. Therefore, there's no Raya. Rava wants to claim that if I had both thoughts on a Chanukah, I brought a carbon Pesach and I think it's a Pesach and not a Pesach, it's a Shlamim, that should be kosher. You know why? Because Loi L'Shema is stronger. Because if he didn't say anything about this carbon on its own, it's a carbon Pesach. He didn't say anything. And he went and he said, Loi L'Shema, this is a Shlamim, it's kosher. So you see, the Shloi L'Shema is much stronger. The Gemara says perhaps that's not a Raya. When you don't have to say anything, it's automatic a carbon Pesach. And then you say something, you ruin it. You see that saying something ruins it. You see from the case of Shaloi La'ichlav. Akapanim, that's a tchiyah to Rava. And Rava says back, well, a Pesach, if you're not mefarish one way or another, remains a Pesach. Therefore, there's no difference if he said or didn't say. But when it comes to the case of Eichlav, like we had in the following Mishnah, over there, anybody could jump in and out of a carbon, and therefore it's different. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.